Hey, my name is Waylon Lewis with Elephant Journal. And would you date a vegan? Would you date a vegan? If you're vegan, would you date a non-vegan? If you're vegan, would you marry a non-vegan? If you're a meat eater, would you marry a vegan? We're going to talk about these scintillating subjects and more now. So first of all, I want to thank our mindful sponsor, Aspiration.com. They take your money and do good things with it. You make 2%. Free ATM fees all over the world, Aspiration.com. I am genuinely honored to work with mindful sponsors, including Aspiration.com. Thank you so much. They make these possible. So when you support them, you're getting more podcasts and videos out of Elephant Journal, the world's largest mindfulness site. So I just came from a vegan brunch. It's all you can eat. And I ate all that I could eat. So you are talking to a very plump, very happy, very sedentary Waylon right now. So this vegan brunch is at St. Julien, our hotel, and it's super popular in Boulder, Colorado, where I live, because there's basically no vegan restaurants in Boulder. We have tons of farm-to-table restaurants in Boulder with amazing restaurants, amazing food, but there's very few vegan options, let alone a vegan restaurant. We have a couple vegan restaurants that are sort of weird. Like one is a Native Foods chain, and it's Nachos Star, this like pink weird sauce that no one really knows what it is. I don't love it. I appreciate that it's there. I'll go once a year, but it's not really, veganism to me is environmentalism and about eating healthy food as well. It's not just about, vegan muffins in plastic little cartons, which is kind of typical of that place and other places. Then we have another place that is basically 95% to-go stuff. It's all compostable, that PLA plastic compostable. Anyway, I'm probably getting in the weeds here. So long story short, Boulder is not super friendly to vegans. In fact, it's pretty condescending about it. I just had a brunch with some vegan friends, and they were saying how they feel like vegans are more hated by non-vegans than some other groups that deserve a little more hate. So this one lady is a blogger, and she said she did a poll, and she said, what's the group on the world you hate most? Which is a very weird question to ask, first of all, but she asked it, and no one said pedophiles or Nazis. They said vegans came in number one, she said. So I get it. Vegans, basically their presence implies that they're making a moral choice that you're not making if you're a meat eater. And most of us are meat eaters, right? So I am vegan. People ask me all the time, why are you vegan? And here's what I say to them. If you're curious, are you curious? Here's what I say. I say, first of all, let's just point out that you're asking me, and I didn't bring it up. I haven't mentioned the word except for maybe to order my food because I don't want the waiter or waitress to be confused for 10 minutes about, I don't want to waste their time. I want to be clear what I'm looking for their sake, if not for mine. I don't want to have a 10-minute conversation about being vegan. I just want to order and eat and enjoy my friends or my work meeting. But people often ask me, hey, why are you vegan? And so I say, well, you are asking me, I just want to point that out just as a sort of, what do you call it? What do you call that? I ate too much food. All my blood is in my tummy. It's like a preemptive something. Anyway, you get what I'm saying.
Preface.
Like, I didn't bring it up. I'm not being one of those crazy vegans who has to talk about it. So I say, okay, if you want to know why I'm vegan, I think that I have the capacity to choose to exert mercy or compassion or not. A disclaimer. Oh, Melinda, I love you. Thank you. So it's a disclaimer. I just put out a disclaimer. I'm not trying to be one of these vegans who talks about being vegan. Frankly, I'd rather talk about anything else. I'd rather talk about the Golden State Warriors. I'd rather talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. I'd rather talk about Toronto. I'd rather talk about climate crisis. I'd rather talk about the opposite sex. I'd rather talk about bicycling. There's so many things I'd rather talk about than being vegan. But if you want to know, I'm happy to discuss it. And basically what I say is, look, I used to eat meat. Then I decided I would only eat sustainable or mindful meat. And the second I did that, made that decision, this was back in Boston in my 20s, I realized that, man, eating mindful or sustainable meat where I know where it came from and I can feel kind of good about it is really hard and really rare. Suddenly you can't get it. You can't order pizza delivery. You can't enjoy barbecues. You have to kind of source your own stuff all the time. And that's kind of how it should be, right? Like when you're on a farm, you know the name of the animal that you're eating. It's more personal. I just watched this amazing documentary that everyone should watch, and it's called The Biggest Little Farm. Has anyone seen that? It's touring the movie theaters right now because it's doing so well. And it's far from vegan, by the way. And so I just say, I have the capacity to exert mercy or compassion or not. And if I think human beings are better than animals in some way, more intelligent, top of the food chain, then when you're on top in a position of power, shouldn't you exert compassion? I personally feel that way. But that's my decision. Is I can't determine your life and make decisions for you. So I say it just for myself. I just speak for myself. I also say that I think it's healthier generally. And I think you can source really good food. I love food. So there's no real big sacrifice going on. Being a vegan in 2000, there's a sacrifice going on. Being a vegan in 2019, man, have you checked out Miyoko's butter? It's healthy, it's delicious. There's amazing coconut ice creams. There's amazing gelato ice cream. There's amazing pizza. There's amazing stuff made out of real stuff. It's not all soy. There are some great options now, man. The vegan market has exploded. So you're no longer just, the conception of vegans is basically taking meat off, taking this off, taking dairy off, and then eating whatever's left, which is basically like fries and ketchup or something. That's no longer true. So you can eat delicious, wonderful, amazing food. And I think that, to me, is one of the great attractions of being vegan, or even just being vegan once a week, is you don't have to kind of sacrifice your taste buds. And you can feel good about it. I mean, on a simple level, don't we all kind of want to feel good about what we're doing for pleasure at the end of the day? And what we're doing for pleasure in terms of food, we're doing 3 times a day. So even if you don't care about the animals, which I think most of us really do, we all love to love dogs and cats, but we don't eat them. But I forgot what I was saying. So there you go. I'm super full. But in terms of dating, I get asked this once in a while, and Vanessa recently asked me. She said, would you date a meat eater? Would you date a non-vegan? And I was like, oh, hell yeah. Like, it depends, frankly, how cute they are. I totally would. I would date a Republican. I'm liberal. Like, I think Republicans should date liberals. I don't think anyone should all, like, I think Christians should date Muslims. Like, we should all date each other. More love. Dating is beautiful and wonderful. And then she raised the stakes on me a little bit. She said, would you marry a meat eater? And I was like, that's harder. Because frankly, do I want to have a household where like steaks are sizzling on the frying pan and, good morning, there's a pig in your plate that was alive and sentient and deeply feeling and had best friends and, cared for its young, and now it's being sacrificed for your good. And it's Saturday morning. Good morning. So I'm not sure if I would marry a non-vegan, but I probably would if they were a really good person. But that's harder for me. But in terms of dating, I think we should all relax, and it's good to get outside of the choir and date people who aren't like us. So anyway, it's not meant to be a world-shaking question. It's just a fun, interesting question to touch on. And then I think that's about it, frankly. If anyone has any comments or questions, I'm all yours. I see a lot on Facebook. Steve, buddy, a lot of the fake vegan meats have maybe too many omega-6. I wish they would make more with flax and chia. Yeah, so all that stuff, they're improving it super fast. I personally, and a lot of vegans who have been vegan for more than say a year, you get away naturally from the sort of substitute vegan stuff. You stop caring to find substitutes, especially for meats, and you just start celebrating food that happens to be vegan and making it awesome. But like jackfruit tacos, which they have over at Shine, jackfruit is not meat, but it's incredibly meaty. It's incredibly yummy, and it can be completely seasoned and prepared in a very meat-like way. So there's things you can find that are awesome, but they are what they are. I think the substitutes can get a little funky, and they often come in a lot of plastic, and they often aren't made of great things. And in case anyone feels attacked because I'm talking about veganism, I love to attack vegans as well. Vegans are like, look at my vegan shoes that are made out of vinyl. No, I'm vinyl and that's vinyl. Vegans should be environmentalists. Fundamentally, we should care about nature. We should care about the world. We should not be a-holes and attack other humans. We should be about love and can't we all get along and hug each other kind of stuff. That said, it is okay to be very frank. I mean, you know, civil rights movement, any movement seeking justice, and while veganism is about animals, not humans, and that's a distinction I would like to offer, you know, it is okay to fiercely utter the truth when asked. But I don't think making enemies of people who are curious is helpful. Yes, but I'd still enjoy my meat. Yeah, I think, you know, it's great for you to enjoy your meat, Denise. Just from a vegan point of view, let's rename that word meat, because what is meat? Meat sounds like a food. Meat is an animal. And if I was enjoying my dog, you would think I should be arrested. But pigs are smarter than dogs, you know, so there's some interesting issues in there. The compassion, the love we feel for our cats, our dogs, even our goldfish, we don't seem to extend to others. We think the Japanese are barbarians for killing dolphins. And I personally agree, it seems pretty barbaric, but we do that to cows. You know, what's the difference? That's what the Japanese say. They're like, you're all hypocrites. Valiant, in terms of going down the Buddhist path, I have a ton of videos on best Buddhist books for beginners. We can put that in the comments so you can read that. And yeah, tempeh rightly done can be super healthy and super yummy. And I've been super healthy. You know, I climb, I bike, I'm 200 pounds. I'm good. I'm 190 pounds. You know, I'm good. So you definitely can be healthy, but you probably have to make more of an effort, like any transition, to do that healthfully. Roslyn, I was raised on a farm and we raised our own animals to fatten and put down for our own meat supply. These animals were given a good life and well cared for and then humanely put down. I actually only eat meat once or twice a week and the rest veggies. I respect your decision if you respect mine. Yeah, well, so if we were all eating meat only from small farms, I think that would be far better. I think our common enemy can be factory farms. That said, if you're eating meat once or twice a week from a factory farm in saran wrap or plastic wrap or styrofoam, that is not the farm that you were raised on. And factory farms are torture. They're torture. They're disease. They're not healthy. And I respect you as a human being. I may not respect your choice or your decision, but if you're only doing it from small farms, I certainly respect that. I may not agree, but I don't have to respect your decision. You don't have to respect mine, but we have to respect one another fundamentally. And that's what this hat says. It says, make love great again. We are all in this together. Let's disagree agreeably. So yeah, if you're only eating meat or dairy, never at a restaurant, which are almost all factory farmed, and only from a small farm, cool. But what I would say still is you're still killing animals for pleasure. And you could say, well, it's for health, but I think we know that you can be vegan healthfully. So it's really for pleasure. I always say all the arguments against veganism would go away if meat or dairy happened to taste like poop. If it tasted like poop, some of the people would be like, oh, well, I'm not that attached to it. So we could argue about it forever, but that's kind of too easy. Like we all argue all the time. It's so silly. Tom knows someone who went vegan for marketing purposes, very lucrative for her. Well, good for her. Gotta make a living, I guess. Jeff, I don't go to a restaurant for a first date because it's awkward when you have the vegan conversation with the server in front of the date. Fair enough. I don't eat meat myself and I don't force my beliefs on others. However, I would find it challenging. Well said. LA people seem to be vegan because it's trendy. Yeah, I mean, people do lots of things because it's trendy and we don't criticize that, right? People wear shoes because it's trendy or whatever. I don't know. People go to movies that are trendy. People go to concerts that are trendy. If someone is doing something because it's a trend, good for them, but they're not going to continue to do it if it's just because if it's a trend. Or maybe they will get into it deeper because it's a trend. I hope organics is a trend. I hope peace is a trend. I hope equality among races and sexes is a trend. I hope, the journalism and subscribing to journalism is a trend. Veganism for children as far as daily nutrition protein. The way I feel about that is based on science. So a lot of science is based on old science, but basically, children are going to be drinking their mother's milk consensually, I hope. And yeah, I think there is this weird misconception that meat and dairy are super healthy. They're definitely not. And definitely not in the quantities that we eat them. Even traditionally, like in the small farm example, if you have to kill and defeather and prepare your own chicken, that takes hours. There's no way you're eating meat or dairy casually. It's a total pain in the butt. An ex-girlfriend of mine, her sister was raising chickens. Everyone loves the cute little chicks. All the male chicks have already been killed, by the way. So being vegetarian isn't being vegetarian. It's directly causing the killing of chicks and veal cows being taken from their mamas and all that depressing stuff. And that's depressing stuff is why some of us become vegan. But, they would kill chickens and they would take all the feathers out. And that's a total pain in the butt. I think you can definitely raise children healthfully vegan, just in the way that you can raise children unhealthfully with meat and dairy. We have a diabetes and obesity crisis. Fast food is not healthy at all, right? But we don't yell at those families for bringing their kids to fast food or eating way too much meat or dairy. So I think we can all kind of come together in a reasonable, is this a healthful diet? Whatever the diet is, vegan or not, we can just examine, okay, are you getting what you need in terms of protein, in terms of vitamins, in terms of this and that, right? So you look at it from a kind of scientific point of view. Okay. Kathleen, no, I can eat or cook with a vegan without judging, but most vegans cannot seem to do the same, and that takes the fun out of those things. If I invite a vegan over, I accommodate their diet, but I've never had a vegan accommodate my diet. Right. Yeah, I think that's a good point. That said, you can be a meat eater and skip one meal with meat and dairy. You can't be a vegan and be like, you know what? I'm going to eat me a pig head tonight. I'm still vegan. I'm going to bite into a pig's tush. So, it's just a little bit different. It's kind of like saying, let's compromise on protecting forests. We'll cut them down one night and preserve them the next. You can only cut it down once, right? You can't get it back. So it's just different. But Kathleen, I do agree that, respect is important. And curiosity is fun. Yeah, cheese is super good, but I highly recommend, there's certain cheese alternatives now that are really good. They're made of cashew and they're yummy, Carol. Check them out. I think the one I liked is called Chow or Miyoko. And you can also make some stuff, but that's a lot of work. So it depends if you cook a lot. Did I miss anything? There's a lot. It's funny, there's tons of comments and questions on Facebook, but not on Instagram. Okay, I think we've covered it. Vanessa's bored anyway. Gina, I live in the vegan friendliest city, Portland, Oregon. I am super jealous of you, Gina. I went to Portland and I thought I was in heaven. You can have vegan donuts, you can have vegan this, you can have vegan that. Everything's vegan and it's actually yummy and it's healthy. Yeah, so the cheese. I love Chow. I love Miyoko is God's gift to man. She and woman. She makes unbelievable vegan alternatives. So check her out. And I've interviewed her on Walk the Talk Show. So thank you so much to our sponsor, to all of you who ask questions. Our sponsor is aspiration.com. They're an ethical alternative to your bank. You make 2% on savings. You can have free ATM use all over the world, like no fees. So if you travel, boom. All right. Hope everyone is great. And we managed to talk about veganism for like, I don't know, 10 minutes, 20 minutes without all hating each other. So cheers to you guys. Yeah, a lot of the vegan alternatives, Tom, are more expensive, the substitute stuff, but that price always comes down when it's no longer a new market and more people are doing it. That's just capitalism. All right, folks, I do the DHA for sure and some of that stuff. Yeah, I do. All right, thank you, everybody. Let's take a good posture, and whether we agree or disagree, let's give it away with a bow of mutual respect to one another. Have a great Friday and a great weekend. Oops. Yeah, it's really small on Instagram.
Wait, did you turn off Facebook?
Oh, hey. Goodbye. But it was